Hello and welcome to Quincy Trains. This is our second how-to video, and this is one that I had to learn off the internet too. And well, for those of us who are in the same boat, I dedicate this to you. So this is soldering for a model railroad, and I'm going to talk about what you need and a little bit how to do it. So let's jump right in. The first thing I'm going to talk about some tools you're going to need. Well, the first and most obvious thing is a soldering iron. This is a gun type soldering iron, that's what I call it. And you leave it to heat up a little bit, and then you pull the trigger when you want the heat to be applied. You may see some steam coming off of there because it gets very, very hot. Second thing you need some kind of snipper to cut the wire with. Some pliers to bend the wire. Once you've soldered the joint, you may need a metal file to adjust it to however you want it. And the screwdrivers we'll get to later. That's not for what we're doing right now. And you may also want a hobby knife with renewable blades, a nice mat to do this on. This is, like self-healing. It's kind of heat-proof. You're also going to want a wet piece of paper towel or a kitchen rag to wipe the soldering iron on, or just to rest it on, just so heat is not a hazard. And for wiring your railroad, for the feeder wires and for most wires, you're going to want stranded wire, just because it has better conductivity. This is stranded wire here. But that's not what I'm using for this video. I'm just using some good old solid wire here. And some other things you're going to need are rosin core solder. And I use lead free because when this melts and has all those vapors, you don't want to be getting lead in your lungs. You're also going to want flux. What flux does is when you apply it to whatever you're soldering and the iron, it burns off the impurities and the oxidation on the metal for a better joint. And there's paste and liquid types of flux. These are available at Radio Shack, electronic stores, home improvement warehouses, stuff like that. So now we're going to get into the actual soldering part. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we've already got our wire here, and I stripped the first side, and I'm going to show you how I do the second one. Now what we're going to use is our X-Acto knife. If you can see here, if you have wire strippers, that's great, but if you don't like me, then this is what you do. And we're going to cut good 1/2 inch here and just peel that off, peel the insulation off, and cut it. Then to make and you wouldn't really solder a loop like this is just for demonstration. Then we're going to bend it kind of flat like that. Then we're going to hold our 2 pieces of exposed wire here and twist. You're not going to be able to see it, I'm sorry, but I'm just doing best I can. This is thick gauge wire. You're not going to want to use this to do this in reality. So anyway, when all's said and done, it will, if you can cut more wire, if it's thinner, you can have more strand, but it's together, touching. That's what we want. And we'll just kind of bend it up to make it easier for us to solder. See how it sits flat in my hand? There we are. And we'll get a toothpick and apply some flux to where we're going to solder it. You can be pretty liberal with this. That is enough to last you for years, I promise you. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is clean up the soldering iron a little bit. The first thing we're going to do is apply some flux to the tip of it. The soldering irons are deceptive. Does not look hot, does it? Watch. All that is melting off now, and it's sizzling because it's boiling. And it's sizzling when it hits the paper towel, so be very careful. Next thing we're going to want to do is tin the end of the soldering iron. That's when we put this on there. Solder. Just hold it on there. It'll melt. And when you're holding this solder here, or whatever you're trying to solder, see, it feels warm to me even back there. That's because metal is really good at conducting heat. Alright, so let's put our the soldering iron and the place we're going to, the wire has been fluxed, the soldering iron has been tinned, so we're ready to go. Alright, now what we're going to do is hold the soldering iron to the wire. Let's get some more solder out that we're trying to solder, and hold the flux also. So I've got kind of a trifecta here. Flux is starting to melt. The solder will in a minute. Should conduct. Okay, you know what? We're going to hold it like that. This does take a minute for everything to get nice and melted. Alright, there you go. Oh. Okay, well you get the idea. I'm sorry it didn't exactly wait, no, it's still going. It's still going. Yes. Yes. Go, go, go. Alright. And see, that's why you don't take the soldering iron on that quick. But you see what happens is you let the solder wick into the joint. And we got it just barely in there. So that's basically how to solder wires together, and the same practice is holding true when you solder feeder wires to track, and this is also a very important skill. What you're going to want to do, and this is where the screwdrivers come in, I'm not actually going to solder this time, but I just wanted to show how you would do this. You get a screwdriver, and don't worry, this doesn't hurt it, and you're going to open up the end of the rail joiner so that you can slide the rail onto it. This is N-scale rail. And see, now what we've done is we've slid this onto the end of it, and we would just apply flux here and then solder it just like that. And when you're soldering bus lines where this will feed into, you're going to want to have heat sinks so you don't short out electronics at the other end, or so you don't melt stuff. So anyway, that's basically soldering for model railroad purposes. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.